Welcome to the Eames University. Today, we will be going through Motive Power's PM work order on the mobile iPad.
All right, guys, welcome to another session. Today, what we're going to be covering is the Motive Power PM work orders being performed on a mobile device. In this case, we're going to be working with an iPad. All right, so once you have the mobile application open, you're going to go ahead and log in. And it's going to log you in. If you're at this screen, in order to expose your main menu, you want to look into the top left-hand corner and hit those three lines. When you press those three lines, it's going to actually slide open your main menu. And as you can see on the left-hand side, you've got some of our main menu options. The top one being work order. Next, we have equipment, work request, and settings. And then down below in the left-hand corner, you'll notice that we have two more options. One called sync data, and the other one called sign out. So let's talk about the first. Sync data is something that we recommend that you perform every day you log onto your iPad. When we press that button, what it's going to do is it's going to upload any updates or changes that we've done on an iPad to the web application, also known as the computer. And it's going to download any updates that somebody may have made on the desktop computer down to the iPad, and basically keeping both applications in sync. So we're going to go ahead and select sync data in the bottom left-hand corner, and it's going to perform its upload and its download, keeping both applications in sync. All right. This is an action that you also probably want to perform at the beginning as well as at the end before you sign out of the application. So, all right, now the sync has been complete. What we want to do next is we're going to go to our main menu option of work order on the left-hand side. As you can see, it's highlighted in blue. When we select that, it's going to take us to our list of work orders. And one thing to keep in mind is that the work orders that you see displayed are only the work orders that are assigned to whoever is logged in on the iPad. So all of these work orders are assigned to me. Whoever's logged into the iPad will only see the work orders assigned to them. All right, so as you can see, we've got a pretty hefty list here. Let's go ahead and scroll down and let's find PM 105. All right, as you can see, second option down, we've got PM 105. It's work order number 552335. Just going to point out a couple things that we're seeing here. The record highlighted in blue. As you can see in the top left-hand corner there, you've got the work order number 552335. To the right of that, you've got the title of the work order, which is MP for Motive Power. Battery maintenance, and in parentheses, PM 105. Below that, you'll see a code for the piece of equipment that this PM is against, MP-F-station-substation. And then below that, you'll see the description of that code, which is MP Fillmore Station Substation. So as you can tell, this is against the Fillmore Substation. Below the description of the equipment, you'll notice that it says scheduled, which is the current status of this work order. And then below that, you'll notice a green color, and to the right of that, it says 3 routine, which is basically the priority of this work order. Okay, let's go ahead and tap on that work order, and it's actually going to open it up for us. And you'll notice at the top of the screen, it has our work order number along with the description of this work order, MP-battery maintenance, parentheses, PM 105. Just want to point a couple of things out here for you guys. As you can see, we have different cards here, and the way you notice what the different cards are in the top left-hand corner of each one. The first one says work order, the middle one, work order details, and then we have comments on the right. And if we swipe to the left or right, we can actually slide through the different ones. You're also going to see documents, you'll see activities, work order equipment, and structure. Let's talk about work order equipment and structure. Work order equipment is basically each of the pieces of equipment that are involved on this PM inspection. So if we click on the first one, it'll flip the card around and it'll tell me that this is against the, highlighted in gray there, you'll notice that it's the MP Fillmore battery pilot cell number 59. So this is one piece of equipment on the work order. The next one down, right there in the description, this is the Fillmore battery bank 125 VDC. And finally, the last piece of equipment for the Fillmore substation for PM105 is the substation itself. Okay. The last card that you see here, titled structure, is basically the hierarchy or the structure for a particular substation. So as you can see in orange at the top, it's you see the code S-MP-F-station-substation, and then below that you can actually see the description of that, which is the MP Fillmore station substation. And then what you see below the parent, which is the orange record, are all the children that live below it. And basically everything from the transformers, each of the breakers, as you can see, F152, 172, F11, et cetera, all the way down to your rectifiers, ventilation system, first aid, fire extinguishers, et cetera. So this is basically just showing you the structure for the substation in terms of what pieces of equipment live in the Fillmore substation. All right, so let's go ahead and slide back to the beginning and back to our first card called work order. And here on this first card, you're going to notice some of the same information that we covered on the list. At the top, underneath work order, you'll notice the work order number. To the right of that, in blue, it says scheduled, which is status. Below that, you see the description of the work order, and you see the equipment code in blue, underlined, and then below that, you have the equipment description, MP Fillmore station, substation, the type of work order, etc. So the first step that we're going to perform is we're going to hit at the bottom of this work order card. You'll see two buttons, one saying edit work order and the other saying checklist. Let's go ahead and click on edit work order, and it's going to flip the card around. Now the first step that you want to perform when you get to your work order is changing the status. So right there, highlighted in gray, what we want to do is you want to tap that, and you'll notice at the bottom a little pop-up window appears, and you just want to scroll it up to work in progress, now we're basically tagging the work order saying that we're about to start it and it's a work in progress. Once you slid it up to work in progress, go ahead and hit done in the right hand corner, and now you'll notice that it says work in progress in the status. Okay. Then we just want to come to the bottom, and in blue, you'll notice it says save. Go ahead and tap on save. It will save the changes that we made. And now you will notice at the top of the work order card in blue, it now says work in progress. All right, let's go ahead, and the next step will be, we're going to slide over to the right, and we're going to come to the activities tab. Now we're talking about this card in the middle called activities. And notice in gray, the gray area shows that we have one activity, and there's a couple pieces of information I want to point out. You'll notice right now that the 3 lines are currently red, and you'll also notice that at the bottom, next to completed, it says no in capital letters, basically saying that this activity has not been completed. So let's go ahead and just tap on that activity, and it's going to open that up for us. And now we are at the activity level. Now, we have a few different cards here as well. You'll notice the first card at the top left, it says activity. The middle one, book labor. And then we've got the third one on the right-hand side that says checklist approval. Now notice at the bottom of the checklist approval card, and there's a gray button down there that says create follow-up work order. Right, you'll notice that later on when we come back to this card, you'll notice that it will now be enabled, or it will be enabled to green, and we'll be able to generate a follow-up work order if we discover a defect on the checklist. Now, if you slide to the right, you've got a couple other cards, such as additional costs, and you got PM comments, you got task instructions. Now, if there are any instructions that are associated with this PM, you will find them here. And if it's too small, you can go ahead and just tap on the instruction and it will open it up for you. And as you can see, for PM 105, we actually have some notes. Always use eye protection and gloves when measuring specific gravity of a lead acid battery. All right, now we can go ahead and just hit the X in the top right-hand corner to close out of that. And then you also got the final card of comments on the far right where you can add a comment if necessary. All right, let's go ahead and just slide over back to our first card called activity. And at the bottom of the first card, you'll notice that there's two buttons, a far left card called activity. One is called checklist and the other one edit activity. So what we're going to do is go ahead and select the top one, checklist, and it's going to pull up our PM 105 checklist. Now you notice that there are two sections to this work order. The first one deals with battery, and underneath that, you notice that it says 0 out of 5 complete. So there are actually 5 checklist items there for us to complete. And then below that, you've got one called substation that has 0 out of 3 items complete. Let's go ahead and select the first one, battery. And all you got to do is just tap anywhere on that line and it's going to expand. And now you'll notice the 5 items for us to complete. Now the first one, all you got to do is just tap on the area right there and it'll just expand anywhere on that line. You just got to tap and it'll expand that checklist item. So this particular checklist item is actually a note, as you can see in bold. It says note : pilot cell number. And then below that, what you're seeing is the piece of equipment that this is against. You'll notice a code MP-F-BATT, B-A-T-T, -pilot-cell. So that's the equipment code. And next to that, you can see the description, which is MP Fillmore, so motive power Fillmore, battery pilot cell, number 59. So when you come across a note, all you really have to do is just acknowledge that you completed it by just tapping where it says completed. Once we select that, you'll notice that it turns blue. So anywhere that you see a button on a checklist, the way you'll know that it has been selected is when it turns blue. If it hasn't turned blue, it has not been selected. Okay, so we're done with the first one. And now you'll notice in the top right-hand corner underneath battery, it now says 1 out of 5 complete. All right, so now we're going to move on to the next one down, which is temperature reading. And as you can see, it's against the MP Fillmore Battery Bank 125 VDC. Now we don't need to collapse the one that we're on. All we have to do is just tap on the next one down. And what it will do is it'll collapse the previous one and it'll expand the one that we're ready to move on to. And one other thing I'd like to point out is in the notice on the previous one, the note pilot cell number on the right-hand side, it says completed, which basically indicates to you that that checklist item has been completed or a value has been filled in for that checklist item. Okay, so now we're here at the temperature reading. We're just going to go ahead and tap in the first field where it says value, and we're going to enter a value. On the right-hand side of this field, I want you to notice it says DEG with a capital F, indicating the unit of measure for this particular item. So in this case, it's in degrees Fahrenheit. So let's go ahead and just enter a reading. I'll put something like 85. Okay. And now, if you wanted to enter any notes, you could do so by tapping into the notes field right there. But in this case, we're just going to go ahead and continue. So again, all you got to do is tap on the next one down and it will open it. So in this case, our next one is the specific gravity reading for the Battery Bank 125 VDC. So again, tap on the next one down. And as you can see, the previous one we were on collapsed and the one that we selected expanded. And again, I want to just point out, you notice that under battery, it now says 2 out of 5 complete. And on the previous 2 questions that we completed, you can see the right-hand side shows the values that we entered. Okay, so here on the specific gravity reading, let's go ahead and enter another value. This one's the unit of measure on this one's SPG, as you can see on the right-hand side. So let's go ahead and enter another value. Say 90. Okay, now let's go down to the next one, which is has battery water been filled as needed? So in this case, it's just a yes or no question. So let's just go ahead and just say yes. And again, remember that when you select a button, it will turn blue. If it has not been selected, it will be gray, just like you see. So in this case, you'll notice that yes has been selected between the two options of yes and no. Okay, so let's go ahead and move down to the next one, which is have battery racks been cleaned? And here, let's go ahead and say no. Okay, so in this case, we're basically saying that no, the battery racks are not cleaned for some reason. And what we want to do is we want to generate a corrective follow-up work order for this issue that we discovered. Now, what we want to do next is you want to tap on the follow-up button. And again, you'll know it's tapped when it turns blue. So we'll tap on follow-up, and that has now turned blue, indicating that there will be a follow-up work order generated for this defect that we just found. Now we can go into the notes field, and we actually have a way where you can actually set a priority for the follow-up work order. So the way we do that is by entering a PRTY, all one word. It doesn't matter if it's capitalized or lowercase, and either a number 1 through 5. So either a PRTY1, all one word, no spaces, a PRTY2, PRTY4, or a PRTY5. And the reason we skip 3 is if you do not enter a PRTY in a number, it will automatically defect the follow-up corrective work order to a priority 3, which is routine. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and type in a priority 2 and just say it's urgent. And I'm going to separate my note with, like a semicolon. That is not required. It's, when you guys do enter your notes, it does help with searching purposes. So go ahead and use any convention that you guys see fit. But we're going to use a semicolon in this case. So what we're saying is, no, the battery racks have not been cleaned. We want to create a follow-up work order for this that will be a priority 2. And now we're going to enter a note in terms of what the defect is. So we can say something like battery racks are not clean, could be due to, acid leaking from a battery. Since it's a priority 2, we can say something like needs to be cleaned ASAP. Now, what you want to put in your notes is something descriptive, something that will help out the individual that will be going out to fix this issue that we found. So, anything in terms of geography, maybe which battery is the one that's leaking, or something specific to the issue that can help out the individual that will go out and fix this issue that we have found. Okay, so now we've entered a note. We basically said that the battery racks have not been cleaned. We need a follow-up work order, and we said that the follow-up work order needs to be a priority 2. The battery racks are not clean, and our note, could be due to acid leaking from a battery and need a fix ASAP. All right, so let's go ahead and continue with our checklist. So now that we're done with the battery section, you'll notice the next section down says substation. So let's go ahead and just tap on substation. And what it's going to do is it's going to collapse the battery section and open up the substation section. So you'll notice it says 0 out of 3 complete right under substation, and the 3 checklist items are down below. First one being, has substation been cleaned? You can go ahead and just tap on that, and it's going to expand, and you'll notice that it's a yes or no question. So has the substation been cleaned? We'll go ahead and say yes, it has been cleaned. And then let's go ahead and just tap on the next one down. Have outside fenced areas been cleaned? Again, you just got to select the next one down. It collapses the previous one and opens up the one we just tapped on. So here we actually have findings, which is a list of values, and all we got to do is just tap on that findings area, and it's going to give us a list. Now you'll notice that we have yes, no, and not applicable. The reason not applicable is that not all substations have an outside fenced area. So if your particular substation doesn't, then you can go ahead and select not applicable. But in this case, we'll go ahead and just select yes. Okay, and again, you'll notice underneath substation, it now says 2 out of 3 complete. And the 2 questions that we have completed on the right-hand side, you'll notice that our entries are displayed, both of them being yes. Now, finally, our last question for this PM is, have floors been vacuumed? So again, just tap on the next one down and go ahead and hit yes. Okay, so now we have completed our PM inspection on the mobile for the battery maintenance PM 105. As you can see, our battery section has 5 out of 5 complete, and our substation has 3 out of 3 complete, meaning that we're all done. Keep in mind that we did, in the battery section, I'm going to expand, we did have an option that said no, have the battery racks been cleaned? As you can see on the right-hand side, there's a no, and we did say that we need to generate a follow-up work order. So let's go ahead and do that. So we're going to exit our checklist by selecting the X in the top right-hand corner, and it's going to take us back to our activity. So I'm going to scroll over and display this checklist approval card on the left-hand side so we all know which one we're talking about. So the checklist approval card, remember earlier I pointed out that the create follow-up work order button at the bottom was grayed out. However, now that we have selected that a follow-up work order needs to be generated for a defect on the checklist, it has now been enabled and turned green. So what we're going to do is we're going to tap on that create follow-up work order at the bottom, and you're going to notice once I do that at the top where it says checklist approval, a note message is going to appear. So I'll read that out to you guys. It could be quick sometimes. So let me tap on that. And it says follow-up work orders will be created after syncing with EAM server. Now remember, in the beginning, the first thing that we did was sync in order to keep the desktop and the mobile applications in sync. So this is, again, something that we need to do once we're finished. Okay, so now that we've tapped on create follow-up work orders, we can book labor if need be. And as you can see on the center card at the bottom, you can hit add book labor. And you can just go ahead and manually enter your time. Now, one thing that we need you to do is come to the equipment highlighted in gray. When you tap on that, it's going to give you a list of the equipment, the work order equipment that I pointed out earlier. So what we want to do here is we want to switch it from all equipment. As you can tell, it's checked in blue. There's a blue check. We want to select work order header equipment. Now, the reason we want to select work order header equipment is when we book our labor, if we select all equipment, it's going to take whatever time that we book and it's going to divide it by the 3 pieces of equipment below. So if we book 30 minutes, it's going to put 10 minutes for the battery bank, 10 minutes for the pilot cell, and 10 minutes for the substation. All right, so we just want one book labor. So let's go ahead and hit work order header equipment. And now all we have to do is you want to come down to hours, highlighted in gray, and go ahead and enter, the amount of time that you spent. In this case, we'll just say we did 1 hour. And click done. And as you can see, the hours are now, hours now displays 1 hour. One other thing I'd like to point out is that these red asterisks that you see, that means that those fields are actually required, meaning that a value needs to be populated for each of those fields, right? And as you can see, everything's already auto-populated for you, so there's not really much you need to do. You will also notice that the start and end time are not required. So you can actually just come straight down to hours like we did and enter your hours. However, if you'd like to enter a start and end time, you can just do so by tapping on those fields and adjusting the hours and minutes below. All right. One other thing that I like to point out is the type of hours. Now, if you select type of hours, it's actually going to give you a list of different types of hours. We have double time, holiday time, normal time, overtime, and warranty time. So if any of those apply, you can go ahead and adjust the type of hours accordingly. It will always default to normal hours though. Okay, so once we're done booking our labor, you just go ahead and hit save at the bottom. And now you'll notice that a book labor entry has been made. This is not a required step for you guys. However, just for training purposes, we're going to show you how it's done. Now, let's say that I actually had somebody else helping me on this work order. Let's go ahead and add labor for them as well. So the way we can do that is, again, by hitting add book labor at the bottom, the green button. It's going to flip the card around. And now what we want to do is change the equipment from all equipment to work order header equipment. And we want to come to employee, tap on that, and go ahead and select whoever it was from Motive Power that was helping you on this job. In this case, I'll say Chris Spain, help me out. And I'll come down to hours. And one other thing I want to point out, when I selected Chris Spain, you notice that his trade changed automatically. So as well as the department auto-populated. So there's nothing you really need to do besides selecting the employee. And then we'll just come down to hours and we'll say he did the same amount of time as me. Scroll that up to 1 and go ahead and select done. And then right at the bottom, the blue button, click save. And now you can see we have 2 entries, one for MP20, who is myself, and the other one for C Spain, who is Chris Spain. Okay. The next thing that we want to do is we want to come to the activity card, the one on the left-hand side. And at the bottom, you'll notice there's 2 buttons, checklist and the edit activity. Let's go ahead and select edit activity. And it's going to flip the card around. Now, what we want to do is we want to let the supervisors or anybody reviewing this work order know that we have actually completed this activity. So right there, highlighted in gray, you'll notice it says completed, and on the right-hand side, there's actually a button. And we just want to go ahead and just slide that button to the right, and you'll notice that it has turned green now, indicating that we have completed this activity. So let's go ahead and click save at the bottom in blue. And now you'll notice right underneath our estimated hours to the left of the start button, the completed button is shown as green, meaning it has been completed. Okay, so the next step is exiting the activity level. So in the top left-hand corner, you're going to select that back arrow button. Okay, and it's going to take us back to our activity. Now remember, I pointed out earlier that the 3 red lines on the activity were red, and that completed had a big no next to it. And now you'll notice once we slid that complete activity button, the 3 lines have now turned green, indicating that it has been completed, and also the completed section now has a big yes next to it. Okay, so the next step is we're going to slide back to the left to the first card, which is the work order card, and we're going to change our status since we are now complete with this PM. So right at the bottom of that work order card, it says edit work order. Go ahead and tap on that and come down to where it says status, highlighted in gray. And we're going to slide it from work in progress to field complete. And click done on the right, top right. And now you'll notice that the status has changed to field complete. And then go ahead and select save at the bottom in blue. All right, now you'll notice at the top of the work order card, next to our work order number, in blue, it now says field complete. All right, now finally, what we want to do is we want to go ahead and sync, because we want to make sure that that follow-up work order that we generated gets generated and actually populates on the web application, aka the desktop version, for a supervisor to review and assign for somebody to go out there and fix that defect that we found. So let's go ahead and hit that top left button. It'll take us back to our list of work orders. And now remember, in order to expose our main menu in the top left-hand corner, we need to select those 3 lines. And now our main menu gets exposed. And then at the bottom left-hand corner where it says sync data, we're going to go ahead and hit sync data. And now again, what this is doing is it's generating that work order. If it didn't dynamically do so in the background, automatically, it is downloading any updates or any new work orders that may have been assigned to us from the desktop version via a supervisor or manager. And it's uploading all of the updates that we did on the mobile application, just like the PM 105 checklist that we just completed. And once you're done syncing, you can go ahead and click sign out in the bottom left-hand corner, or you can go to your work order and select the next one that you're ready to tackle. Okay, that is all for this session. Thank you very much. I'll see you on the next one.